This is Dorothea Slate Quarry. It's located in the heart of the Snowdonia mountain range in North Wales, and it was once a thriving centre of industry. Now abandoned and in disrepair, it has been reclaimed by the natural world, becoming a beautiful habitat. The village of Talasan, once where the workers would have lived, still stands to this day, bordering onto the quarry that has shaped the lives of the residents. But how exactly has Dorothea affected the lives of the residents throughout the years? And how is the quarry looked upon today?
Hi, my name is Kian and I live in Talasan, which is it's like a few minutes away from here.
Hi, my name is Ethan and I've been living in Talasan for 25 years, local resident, and on a regular basis I come down and explore Dorothea.
Hi, I'm Rob. I'm a mountain leader, artist and explorer.
I usually go down to the lake with a few of my mates and we jump in, have a quick swim around, skip stones and just have a good laugh. It's a nice way to unwind, and I just like the atmosphere. It just gives me that sense of nostalgia.
I use it to get away from everything, just explore. Every day I find something new.
I love it here. To produce good art, you need to be inspired by things. And I love Snowdonia. I love walking in the mountains. I climb in the mountains. And it's quiet here. You don't get disturbed. So when you're painting here, you really are just at home with nature.
Opening in the 1820s, the quarry was at the heart of the local community. Many of the workers and their families settled in the nearby village of Talasan. Each day they would venture into the quarry, where they would use an assortment of hand tools and dynamite and more to dislodge huge strips of slate, which would be cut down by hand into sheets for roofing. Any broken slates, or any slates of inferior quality, would have been dumped onto slate tips, which themselves cover much of the site, showing just how much material was wasted. The fit-for-sale slate would be transported via carts on tracks out of the site. Plas Dorothea was the name of the large manor house built at the quarry where the owner would have resided. It would have been a very large 19th century house with fountains, a dog kennel and grand gardens built into the landscape.
It's a huge part of history for Talasan because there were so many miners used to work down here, provide for their families.
It provided jobs for a huge number of people in the area, and lots of homes were being built because of the quarry and because of the people working here.
All the slate that they collected went on all the roofing that you see around here today. It went all over the world, like New York, Sweden, Italy and all that. It travelled everywhere. And it's just nice to know that I live close to that sort of history.
The quarry's had a major impact throughout history on the whole area. It's a really interesting site because the slate was mined vertically, which meant that they could go much deeper than in other quarries in Wales. They needed a pumping station, which you can see just behind me, to pump out the water. So it would have looked very different during those days of when the quarry was working. It looks very different again now because this pit would have been empty because it would have been less water in there.
All the local workers had their jobs lost. They had to go out and search for new ones.
We had a member of the family that used to work in the quarry when he was in his early 20s. He was our grandfather and he was a quarryman for 20 odd years.
I wouldn't say it was all negative, but they probably would have had negative effects due to it being closed. But again, because of that, it's brought on a lot of tourists keen and interested to have a look and experience what it would have been like.
Dorothea Quarry is a beautiful jewel tucked in the mountains, an oasis of life. As you walk through the forests and between the remnants of the buildings, you find yourself surrounded by nature in all forms. The sounds of blackbirds searching through leaf debris, the tweet of robins, the mix of the natural ecosystem with the historic architecture of a slate quarry gives the area a magical, ancient quality. This site shows how nature can reclaim an area in use for so long in a relatively short stretch of time. Back in the days of industry, this lake would have been a ginormous open-cast mine pit. But since the decommissioning of the Great Cornish beam engine, the lake here has risen back to its natural groundwater level. This has created a paradise for all sorts of ducks and other native wildfowl species. All forms of life thrive. The insects breaking down organic matter and birds feeding upon them. The gardens have become an exotic jungle where plants, both native and non-native alike, thrive in perfect harmony. Despite many being invasive, they provide a safe space to nurture wildlife, finding their place in this unnatural land. Covering the dusty landscape opposite the garden where the workers would have cut the slate, many pioneer species have transformed these bleak tips into beautiful glens of wilderness. What this site tells us is that no matter how industrialised or man-made an area becomes, it can be taken back by nature. Arriving upon the feet and fur of animals and in the flow of the wind, the natural world has seeded this site, preserving its history while creating a space for a new legacy. In this era of climate change and diversity loss, I find that comforting. Give just a little time and patience, and any area can become a diverse paradise.
I find it quite relaxing in a way, because there's just something about the atmosphere of it being abandoned, but also still standing. It's not like it's just fully gone, it's still here in some way.
Involved in multiple different projects, both for conservation purposes, but also it's something I really love. I love the colours in the trees here. You can hear all the birds, which is fantastic. I always painted wildlife. It's inspiring for me.
I just like walking around and just taking it all in, taking all the sights, the smells and the sounds and all that. It just calms me down.
I feel it's a little overgrown, but it adds character to the quarry.
You can hear the bird song all around us today. You can hear the chiff-chaffs in the distance. When I first came here, that's what struck me. It can be really wild elsewhere in Snowdonia, and here it can still be quite sheltered enough for all the birds just to hide and everything.
It gives it that colour, because the quarry usually is dark, and then with all the trees and bushes and grass, it just adds colour. There's that life to it as well.
In terms of the industrial side, that's beautiful too, with all the trees and everything taking over and growing through all the windows and beautiful old buildings.
There have been some rumblings of talks to re-industrialise old quarries, which could affect both the local community and the natural habitat.
If it benefited the village, then I don't see anything wrong with it. But otherwise, I keep it just the way it is.
Talasan is quite a distant and quiet village, so with a factory up and running, I reckon it would be beneficial.
There's so much history here, and you get the occasional tourist or two as well. And having it changed would just take all that away. So I don't see the reason to change it.
It's a bit of a balance. It would bring jobs to the area. However, I'm one of these people that don't like change, and I'd love it to stay the same because I'd love to know what kind of wildlife you'd have here in the future if you let nature take over even more.
With the amount of nature in the quarry, the sites could potentially make for a good wildlife reserve.
That's a very good question. Despite the current situation of the landslide and that everything's just falling to bits, if it was maintained,
I reckon it would work.
yeah,
And it would bring a lot more tourists around as well.
It would. And it'd make it look more nicer and tidier.
It would. If they, obviously they'd have to close off a few areas, for example, these buildings. But if they kept most areas opened up and well preserved, like you said, I reckon it would work.
Yeah, but even then, with the buildings, they could refurbish it, remake it all, and then use them as buildings.
Yeah.
Instead of leaving it here to rot and die, just
But again,
revive.
as good as that would be, sometimes leaving it be is just best.
With the effect of the quarry on the environment, some would see its creation as an overall bad decision.
I don't think so.
Technically, no, because if they didn't have the creation of the quarry, there wouldn't be roofs.
No,
There wouldn't be
nowhere.
slate or anything.
Nowhere, because slate was travelled all around the world.
Yeah, through wagons, trains, and literally carrying it from the quarry to the wagon.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the quarry, I don't think houses would be the way they were, or even now. Surprisingly, not a lot of people would know about this place.
There's still a lot of backstories
There
to it,
is.
so there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of fascinating stories to just learn about.
Yeah.
And just take it whole in and just like understand the history of the quarry, of Dorothea.
Yeah.
Dorothea has been a vestige of years of industry, evolving into a beautiful decay as the old is taken over by new life. No matter what perspective you choose to look at the quarry with, the rich history and wide variety of habitats show how, with only time, any urban expanse can be reclaimed, turned into a place that can be enjoyed by all. Our world is constantly changing and evolving, and Dorothea Quarry is an emerald that shines with this change. No matter how you view this story, there is not a shadow of a doubt that this site will remain in mind and in memory for many years to come.